Welcome to another edition of Around the Table with Stacy Smith as we take a look at the economy and investing. Now, bear with me just for a moment as I show you my age. In 1965, there was a song by Barry McGuire, and one line from the song is, "Take a look around you, boy. It's bound to scare you, boy." Now, that song was Eve of Destruction, and with everything happening in the world right now and here at home, it may seem as if we are on the verge of destruction. All right, maybe that's a little hyperbolic, but it does raise the question about whether world events should have an effect on how you invest. Well, that is one of the topics we're going to discuss today as we go around the table with Stacy Smith. And here to give you their thoughts on that question and more is my panel of analysts and financial advisors. So let me introduce them to you. With a prime seat at the table is Carrie Coghill. Carrie is the president and CEO of Coghill Investment Strategies, which is headquartered here in Pittsburgh. Carrie has been recognized by Forbes as one of the top women wealth advisors in the country. Also seated at the table is Frank Brissetti. Frank is the managing director of HF Management Company, which is part of an alternative asset partnership. Now, Frank's background includes 50 years in the investing field, and he helped to establish Harvest Financial here in Pittsburgh, where he was the executive chairman. Across the table, we find Kim Forrest. Kim is the chief investment officer and the founder of Boca Capital Partners. Kim has a dual background in both finance and in software engineering, and you may have seen Kim in her many appearances on CNBC, Bloomberg, and on Fox Business. There is one more seat at the table, and that is occupied, and where we find Michael Godwin with Fregasso Advisors. Michael has a solid career in investing and is the chief investment officer for Fregasso Financial Advisors. And again, this year, we should note that Fregasso Advisors is listed among Barron's National Top 100 Independent Advisors. I want to thank all of you once again for joining me for Around the Table with Stacy Smith. We do have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. Getting back to my destruction scenario, there is a war in Ukraine. Israel has declared war. China's economy seems to be faltering. The U.S. House of Representatives is in disarray with a lack of leadership. And because of that, nothing is getting done in Washington. And in about a month, the government could be looking at another shutdown. So to me, that begs the question, which I will pose to Frank. Is this still a good time to be invested, or should you begin to try to play a defensive game?
Well, normally defensive players would buy gold, but it today happens to be down, and the markets happen to be up. So I think that what we should remember is being invested is something that you do for the long term. And although this stuff sounds pretty daunting, and it is, it still isn't that big a deal on the long term. It will all pass, and we will continue to have a dysfunction in Congress. We've had it for years, and it's done well. And the markets will create opportunities as a result of these things. And that is what I've spent a career doing, looking at all this chaos, even going back to 1965, as the song pointed out, and using that chaos to look at what might be created as a result of it in the way of opportunities. And there will be opportunities, and there are opportunities out there as a result of all of this.
Anybody else want to jump in on this?
I agree. I think that we are in a time of, I mean, you can always say this, right? We're in a time of change, but we really are. We're coming out of COVID. People have voiced their opinion that they want to live differently than they had in the past. People have moved out of cities somewhat. Maybe people are going to move back to the city. We don't know yet, but we know that everything is pretty much up in the air and moving, which is good. And it's our job and your job as an investor to try to figure out where the world is going next. And war is never good, but I'm thinking today's market, which is up tremendously from when it was down tremendously on Friday, that's saying that people are thinking maybe war is temporary. Maybe we can get through this. And that's what we're going to we have that set up from now to the end of the year, pretty much, on volatility. And again, don't be afraid, but look for opportunities day by day, stock by stock. That's the way we live here.
Well, I would say that, it really is interesting, and we have to look at it from this respect. With all the chaos that's going on around the world and here at home, The big question is, how does that affect what we're doing on a day-to-day basis? And, when we talk to clients about some of the companies, the stocks that they own, it's a situation where, okay, well, this is happening, but I still need to buy shampoo and I still need to, I'm still living my life. Is it really changing the day-to-day habits? However, I actually believe that this does have long-term implications and may have long-term implications in an incremental way. When we look at what's going on around the world, particularly with the wars and geopolitical unrest, what that's really driving at is a change from globalization to deglobalization. So you have to ask yourself the question, if the world now is becoming more, we're each becoming protectionists as a country, what does that do to an economy? And what it does is it actually perpetuates inflation because you have less competition. So, I think on a day-to-day basis, actually, yeah, we have the ups and downs and things cause the market to gyrate, but the general trend of the economy isn't disrupted. The question is, will some of these other things have longer term implications?
Yeah, I think Carrie brings up a lot of good points there, and that could be an entire discussion on another show regarding deglobalization and globalization. But I was not alive in 1965, Frank, but I can say that in my studies of the markets, I think in periods of uncertainty, particularly when it's unpredictable headlines that are driving and moving the markets, from what I've studied and researched, the best risk reward strategy is to remain in high quality themes. So high quality stocks for the most part. And there are ETFs that invest in the quality factor. I'm not going to give you any right now that we like, but it's important to note if you're doing your homework on these, you'll notice that there are many ETF providers out there that define quality differently. So it is very important to do your homework when selecting those ETFs to purchase. We like to look at high return on assets, high return on equity, low earnings variability, and certainly low leverage or low debt to income ratios.
All right, good. Great discussion on that topic. We have to take a break. We'll be back in just a moment.